Hello there. Welcome back to Sales Management at 5. In this video, we are still working on the question paper of November 2024. So we are going to look at the last question that we have on that question paper. That is our question 5. So moving on to our question, we are going to start with our 5.1, which reads our first impressions are unfortunately lasting impressions. It is therefore extremely important that salespeople use the correct approach right from the very first minute of the appointment and make a good impression on the prospect. So for the question part, it reads, name and discuss any 5 approach techniques except the question technique. So we see that our mark allocation, we have got 4 marks for each and every approach that we are going to state and explain, and giving us a total of 20 marks. So we are going to start by the first approach that we have, which is making a stimulating statement. So you'd see that a stimulating statement, it causes enthusiasm and interest. So basically, you are giving a statement that is going to make the prospect interested in the product. So basically, that's what we have. So we are going to see that the salesperson grabs a prospect by making a stimulating statement. So examples of stimulating statements you can give. You can give the statement. The statement can be about what the product has done for another person or company. So that's the typical stimulating statement that you can give. So the salesperson also should be able to support a stimulating statement with evidence. So you just don't give a stimulating statement that your product is performing very well, but you don't have any evidence to support that. So that's what we have on making a stimulating statement. So on the next approach that we have got a shock approach. So a shock approach is meant to grab attention of the listener by presenting a life-threatening condition, for example, like in the case of maybe you are selling an insurance product or you are selling a security product. So basically, in that case, you give a scenario of a life-threatening condition so that you maybe instill fear on the listener so that the listener engages your insurance product or your security product. So basically, that's what we have on shock approach. Basically, we also have the explanation that we have believed that is saying this technique is used to grab attention of the prospect by shocking them by developing a fear, arousing attention and interest to listen further. So this approach works well, especially for prospects who are aware of dangers, but who, for some reasons, keep delaying. So these are further explanations that we have under the shock approach. So moving on to the next approach that we have is the product approach. So obviously, this product approach obviously is based on the is based on the salesperson presenting the product to the customer. So when the salesperson presents the product, the actual product to the customer, that's the product approach. So basically, you are trying to persuade the prospect by presenting the product. So basically, we see that explanation given is that it is used especially where the product is unique and very attractive, such as a luxurious car. So in that case, you are going to make the prospect be attracted by the nature of the product. So we're giving an example of a unique product. It can be, for example, a luxurious car that can easily attract the prospect. So on the last point, it reads that this technique is based on the salesperson saying nothing, only taking out the product and handling it to the prospect for displaying it. So basically, a typical scenario that we can have that the product is just handed to the prospect, and when the prospect gets hold of that product, we can see that we have persuaded the prospect to buy our product. So basically, this is what we have on the product approach. So moving on the next one, we are going to have the customer benefit approach. The customer benefit approach. So under the customer benefit approach, we are going to have a scenario of describing the benefits or advantages that a consumer gets from using or buying a product or service. So that's the customer benefits approach. But the benefits must be of real interest to the prospect. So you cannot tell the prospect benefits that do not have any value to the prospect. So you should know the benefits to present to your prospect, depending on a particular prospect that you are dealing with. So on the last point, it reads right from the start, just after the meeting and introduction, the salesperson points out the buying motive. So this is the structure that we have under the customer benefit approach. So from the customer benefit approach, we also have the complement approach. So under the complement approach, we are saying the salesperson looks for something to complement to prospect. However, the complement must be sincere and conveyed with empathy. Otherwise, the prospect might feel offended. So it should not be a compliment that is going to offend the prospect at the end of the day. It should be a prospect that should show empathy so that we attract the prospect. So basically, that's we have on the compliment approach. We also have a few explanations that we have under the compliment approach, whereby it treats with this approach, the salesperson the salesperson looks for something to complement the prospect on. So this is what we have just explained. So the compliment must, however, be sincere and conveyed with empathy. Otherwise, the prospect might feel offended. So very important that we take that caution. This is the explanation that we have under the compliment approach. So moving on to the next question, which is going to be 5.2. Name 5 advantages of users' expectations as a forecasting method. So the users' expectations, this is what the user expects from a new product or service. So that is the users' expectation. And on advantages, you can talk about talk about it from the point of view that it is based on actual product users. So that is the advantage that we are dealing with the actual product users. So at the end of the day, the information that we are going to get from the actual product users is going to be the correct information. And also another advantage that we can deduce is it is very effective to new market products. Very effective to new market product. So basically, our question requires us to come up with advantages of users' expectations as a forecasting method. So those are some of the advantages that we can also include. So moving on, we see that these are the advantages that we have, whereby the first one is forecast is determined by the actual product users, which is exactly as we are trying to explain. And then forecast is relatively fast and expensive when only a few customers are involved. So it is only fast and expensive rather when we have got few customers. So when we've got many customers, it means it's going to be a bit cheaper. So this is what we've got the second point. The third point is saying it is useful in forecasting new to the market products. So new products, it is useful when we have new products to the market. And then that is our next point. Our management can get direct feedback on the thinking of people in the market. So that's also an advantage. So moving on to the next question that we have, which is going to be our 5.3. It is sometimes difficult to distinguish between prospecting and pre-approach. List 6 points that can be used as qualification criteria for prospects. So we need to come up with the 6 points that can be used as qualification criteria for prospects. But we can start by understanding what is a pre-approach. So pre-approach, you see that it's one of the initial steps in the selling process, where in the preparation is done about customers by a salesman before approaching them. So it includes customer analysis. It will also include abilities, needs, wants, and also it has to be wants about a customer. So this is what we have on the pre-approach, whereby we're saying it is one of the initial steps in the selling process, where the preparation is done about customers by a salesman before approaching them. So basically, that's what we've under the pre-approach. So going back to our question, you'd see that we are supposed to come up with the 6 points that can be used as qualification criteria for prospects. So we have them listed in the other section, whereby we have the need or the use, ability to buy, size and importance of the sales transaction, frequency of the lead, urgency of needs, and then we've got authority to buy also as one of them. So moving on to the last part of our question, which is 5.4. The question technique is one of the techniques that salespeople use in their approach. Name 4 important requirements for the question technique. So obviously, the question has to be clear. Very important. We don't have to give unclear questions. So we have also that in our other section. The question must not prompt a negative response. So we are saying the question must not give the respondent a platform to give a negative response. So basically, that's what we are saying. It doesn't have to encourage a negative response to come from the respondent. So basically, that's what we have on the first point. And the second point, the question must be relevant, specific, and tailored to each prospect's need. And then ask personal and confidential questions only when necessary. So you don't have to just ask confidential questions, but they have to be asked when it's necessary because it might offend the respondent. So I will go to the last one. Do not ask for information the prospect cannot provide. So very important also, you cannot ask a question and are required to be answered of something that it's not within the capacity of the respondent to give you that information. That is not proper. So basically, that becomes the last point that we want. The last point on the last part, which is 5.4. And thank you for listening. And let's stay tuned for more videos to come. More typical examination questions will be uploaded. Let's meet again in the next video.